So they go into the final game all tied up. The Soviets have scored 27 goals in 7 games, and Canada has scored 25. So if you had been writing the script, it couldn't have produced a more dramatic and exciting final. Tonight we are making hockey history, and the teams and fans are really up for this one. Brian Conacher will again do the color. Brian, I wouldn't miss this one for all the tea in China. How about you?
Well, Foster, it's no longer an 8-game series. It's down to a 1-game series. Team Canada in the past few games has neutralized any conditioning advantage the Soviet team might have had in the earlier games through a close-checking, physical style of play. Both teams are tired from the constant heavy hitting, and I expect both of them to play a close-checking type of game while waiting for scoring chances. If it comes down to one key factor in determining the winner tonight, I'd have to say that the team with the hot goaltender will win this 8th and decisive game.
Two teams are coming out on the ice, each team having a partner, and then they take over on the blue line. And I note that the Canadian team are carrying white Stetsons, but the presentations will be made, and then the national anthems, and then the players introduced after that. The air in the Moscow arena here is tense as we get ready for this 8th and final game of the series.
The international hockey match between Team Canada and the Soviet Union is declared open.
Presentations will begin now, the first being with Charlie Hay, President of Hockey Canada, and he will present a totem pole to the Soviet official, Colonel Georgy Mozilov, President of the Soviet Ice Hockey Federation. I also see Alan Eagleson there, along with Joe Kriska, the president of the Canadian Amateur Hockey Association. That Howell Foster was for the V for victory sign that Gary Bergman waved over his head as he was introduced. Again, Phil Esposito not taking any chances. He hangs onto the boards when he's introduced. Foster. The white Stetsons, of course, are from the Stampede City, Calgary.
This is Game 8 of the Canada-Soviet Series from Moscow.
Both teams have just made two changes, Foster. For Team Canada, the most noticeable one, Ken Dryden replaces Tony Esposito in goal to start this critical game, and Frank Mahovlich replaces Bill Goldsworthy as an extra forward. For the Soviets, they've only made one change. They've dropped number 5, Ragulin, the big defenseman who's supposed to have a sore leg. They've replaced him with number 17, Valery Harlamov, unquestionably one of their star players.
Rudolf Bada of Czechoslovakia and Joe Kampala of West Germany are the two referees, and they nearly caused a riot in the discussions prior to the game as to whether they would be allowed to officiate. That is the West Germans. But they finally resolved it around noon today. The start of the game was very much in doubt there up until noon. However, the teams are out on the ice now, ready to start. Phil Esposito was going to start at center ice. It was thought that Pat Stapleton might be able to play, and Talon was dressed, but apparently Stapleton's ankle stood up, and he's going to start. Tretjak is back in goal for the Soviet. They're playing the entire 8-game series with him in goal. Phil Esposito at center, Cornwallis on the right. As the puck is dropped and shot up to the line, here's Anderson going up alone quickly, and Dryden to stop a hot one. A pass comes right back near the blue line. The shot is stopped and knocked out at center ice. Vasiliev going back to get it. Puck is knocked over on the left wing to center ice, and the Canadian team were nearly caught there right after the face-off. A long pass over there. Parisi going in, tried to lay over a pass. Esposito going into the corner. Petrov trying to cover him as the Soviets are changing immediately after they could get a chance at center ice. A quick shot is wide as Mihailov let a drive go from the right wing. A cleared pass. The Canadians failed to get a pass at center. Vasiliev hit Petrov, and the Soviet with Mihailov playing it over on the far side at center. Mihailov overskated it. Leadoff follows, took a shot, and it's called on the offside at the Canadian blue line.
In talking to Johnny Esau just before this game started, he's back in Canada, in Toronto. He says the fan reaction and anticipation for this game is nothing short of phenomenal in Canada today. I understand that many of the school children have had the afternoon off, and I'm sure a lot of the teachers have probably taken it off anyways.
Well, there's one thing about the Canadian supporters here in Moscow. There are 3,000 of them, and I think they've made more noise than any 16,000 I've ever heard in Canada. They're really hooping it up and giving the team every support possible. They've been in here for the last hour, and they must be just about worn out by now. They've played a minute of the first period, no score in the game, as the Soviet with Anderson failed to get anywhere. Yakushev couldn't get anywhere. Lyapkin, 25, goes into the corner. Gilbert's after him. Rattel out there on the forward line with Dennis Hull. Rattel stole the puck from Vasiliev. Maltsev took it from him to Harlamov, coming up alone. Pass back to Mikulov. A loose puck in front, and the shot goes wide. Here's another drive from close in, and it's knocked out by Dennis Hull back to the Soviet line. Harlamov has returned to the lineup as an extra forward. He was injured for the last game. Now Lushenko at center. Shot it into the corner. Dryden stopped it back of the goal. Esposito is the backup goalkeeper. A quick pass blocked by Mikulov. Mikulov cleared from the side. It goes back to the blue line to Sagantov. White stopped it. A deflection out to center ice. Henderson goes up with Ellis on the right, and the pass failed to get there. Maltsev with Mikulov turning. It slides near the Soviet goal, and Maltsev now has it at his own blue line, number 10 at center, and the Soviet fans, there's a dive. There was a real dive there. There wasn't a quick call, but there'll be a penalty, and that's the first penalty of the game. With the score, Canada nothing, and the Soviets nothing. This is game 8 from Moscow. Bill White off for tripping at 2:25. The Soviets have the odd man. When the Soviet player, Conquena, is still there, even though Bill White hardly touched him.
Penalties could be a key factor in this game, and it's such a close checking game, and where a break is going to make the difference, penalties could cost you dearly.
From the face-off, Soviet got the draw, but forced back to center. Vasiliev over to Lyapkin, 25. At center ice ahead to Yakushev, their leading scorer with 5 goals in the series. Henderson is the leading scorer of the entire series with 6 goals. Phil Esposito is tied with Yakushev with 5 apiece. Yakushev now cutting in front of his own goal, and Peter Mahovlich breaks himself on him, and there's going to be a penalty there. Peter Mahovlich checks and is given a hooking penalty, and Canada will play 2 men short. With the score, Canada nothing, and the Soviets nothing. This is game 8 from Moscow. Now Canada's 2 men short with Peter Mahovlich off for holding. Yakushev tried to come in, back to Shadron, up to the blue line. Lyapkin played it over on the far side. They still pass it to Lyapkin. Here's the shot, and it bounded off Shadron, the Soviet player, and went into the crowd.
With 2 men short here, Foster, it's virtually impossible to cover the whole ice surface in your defensive zone. So what you have to do is set up a triangular pattern and keep the puck out of the prime scoring area.
105 and 1 penalty and 137 in the other for Canada. As Canada's playing 2 men short, Lyapkin over on the far side of the shot and stopped and drive. They play it in and score! Yakushev left in the rebound to give the Soviet a 1-0 lead. You'll see Yakushev, the first shot doesn't go in, and Yakushev parks himself right on the goal mouth, picks up the rebound, and bangs it home. The leading scorer in the series now with 10 points. That gives Yakushev his 6th goal of the series. Yakushev, a good play by the Soviet here. They set up good puck control. They have Canada at their mercy. Now Yakushev moves in, parks himself and hits the post, and he banks in the rebound. And now the Canadian team 1 man short with Peter Mahovlich still in the box. So they capitalize on that penalty, and that last penalty to Peter Mahovlich will score looking. 1-9-5 into the Soviet zone. Here's another penalty being called. This time the Soviet Canada. And Petrov is going off for holding. The score, Soviets 1, Canada no score. This is game 8 from Moscow. They're 5 aside.
The audio and the video trouble we're experiencing is occurring at the Moscow end, and it's temporary, so please stand by and do not adjust your set.
On the goal by Yakushev, who scored with Canada 2 men short, a change of players.
It'll be critical, Foster, in this game that Team Canada, that all the players keep cool heads out there, because penalties are going to play a decisive factor in this game, and so Team Canada has to stay on the ice.
Phil Esposito out there with Parisi as the puck goes back to Vikolov. Maltsev takes his pass. He's knocked over by, it'll be a penalty there to Canada. And just 1 penalty after another in this game. Parisi knocked the Soviet player over, seemed to get the elbow into it, and as a result will get an elbowing penalty, and Canada will play 2 men short, the Soviet 1. Parisi is
somewhat incensed at getting this penalty. He has no respect for the referee, and he could get himself out of the game. What happens, Foster, in this type of situation? Because it's a close checking game, each player wants to make absolutely sure that his man, his responsibility in the ice doesn't get away from him. And this is one of the reasons there's a lot of hooking, tripping, and so on. Parise is totally incensed at this call, and he is tempted attempted to swing his stick at the referee on a couple of occasions, and I think he's going to talk himself right out of this game. I think what he's incensed about, Foster, is that Petrov was standing right beside the referee on the opposite side of the ring, and he gestured to the referee that should have been a penalty, and then his arm went up. It was a very questionable call, because as I say, Parise and all of these players are just playing their man extra closely, and when they fall down, they don't feel they deserve the penalty.
Still waiting to, while Phil Esposito speaks to the two referees, I'm afraid this kind of officiating is going to cause more than one incident before this game is over. But Parise seemed to lose his head completely there when he threatened the referee with his stick. But he didn't swing it, but he certainly indicated he might.
Well, as you pointed out before the game started, there was a great controversy in the last day and a half in Moscow as to who would referee this game. Team Canada, after they had the two West German referees 2 games ago, suggested that they definitely would play if they refereed the game. The Soviets, unfortunately, had the choice of referees, and they were their choice.
The ruling is that Parise is out of the game, and that will likely mean a 10-minute penalty before he is allowed to be replaced. But he is out of the game. As far as we can learn in this controversial situation here, Harry Sinden threw a bench or something on the out on the ice, and somebody else threw a chair, and in the meantime, the players just skated all around. Not a 10-minute misconduct, as well as the original penalty. Interference was the first call, then a 10-minute misconduct, and then he was put out of the game. So it's a very severe penalty to Team Canada, and they'll have 2 men in the penalty box for the second time in the game. And the Soviets scored the first and only goal of the game so far at 3:34, Yakashev, while White and Peter Mahavlich were in the penalty box.
Foster, I can sympathize with all the Team Canada members and Harry Sinden, but there's still over 15 minutes left in this game, and cool heads just have to prevail, because there's no question that the game will be finished, and those referees will be there the whole time. Here's how the original penalty came up on Parise. As you see, he's trying to check his man very closely, and he gets his legs sort of between him and gets in his way a little bit. But I really feel that this is how the game is going to be played in a close checking game, and that was a fairly severe call for that type of an incident.
They have 15:50 left in the first period, and the game has almost reached a boiling point as the two teams just skate around the ice. They're still talking to the two referees, who seem to be a little hesitant and upset at the time.
There has been a lot of discussion in the last day as to whether there would be an incident in this last game. Because the 4 games have been so closely contested, everybody felt that in light of what happened to Gary Bergman in that fight with the kicking and the spearing, that it wouldn't take too much to set the sparks of flame in a game here. And unfortunately, I believe for Team Canada, the sparks have flown early, and there's still a lot of hockey to be played, and if they can collect themselves, I don't believe this one goal is going to beat them tonight. A great controversy going down there on the bench. The players some of the fans, but there's no way that the fans are going to get towards the bench because there have to be at least 100 policemen guarding Team Canada's bench from any spectator that might want to venture in that direction.
The scoring play by Yakashev brought him up even with Henderson. Both of them now have 6 goals. That's really what counts, because on these assists in international hockey, you can't tell really whether the player deserves them or not. They seem to be very indifferent to assists over here. They're finally getting things cooled out a bit. A few towels have been thrown at the officials, especially Joe Campella, the West German. But they had this tremendous build-up the last day or so on who would officiate, and it almost tipped off what might happen tonight. The feeling was running so high. So now Parisi is out of the game, and the Canadian team will have to get used to penalties here, the way they're going. They have 2 men in the box, the Soviet 1, and from the face-off, Vikolov comes up over the line, cleared it on the side, he hangs on to it, back to Luchenko, back over on that far side. He still jiggles it around, back to Luchenko, same spot here, fake shot. Now it finally goes, and Dryden kicked it out. LaPointe shoots it down the ice. Soviets have 1 man in the penalty box, and Canada 2. Puck is back in the goal, Luchenko, clearing to Maltsev at center ice. Over to Luchenko, and it's offside as Vikolov went in on the left wing ahead of the play. 15-12 left in the first period. 1-0 for the Soviet Union. 1:22 left in one penalty and 12 seconds left in the other for Canada. 56 for the Soviets. Puck goes back to Yakashev, the most dangerous player out there for the Soviet. Soviet player played it over to Shadron. Shadron passed back. The Afghan gets ready, shoots, right, knocked that one down. And the Canadian team lob it out. Peter Mahovlich breaks down the right side on getting the pass. Comes from the side, centered out. Mahovlich, Frank Mahovlich, tried to go in and failed to get a shot on goal. A jamming session on the far wing, and the shot went wide. Yakashev is stopped by Peter Mahovlich, but the puck goes up to Shadron. He's alone across the line into the corner. Shadron still has it, played it back, and it rolled to one side. Soviet had it momentarily. Savard stopped it. It goes to Shadron, and the puck hit his skate with Savard going over on that left side, being chased back. The Soviet at full strength. Canada a man short. Down the left wing for Canada, center ice, over the line, in on the defense, knocked over. LaPointe tried to get through. A quick rush, a high lob to Blinov, and the drive was deflected. Canada recovering. Ellis shooting it down the ice. And it's called on the icing call.
Parise is going to be a big loss to Team Canada in this game because, of course, he's been getting that puck out to Phil Esposito. He's been playing very well along the boards, and, of course, he is exceptionally tough in the corners. So Jean-Paul Parise is going to be a very difficult player for Coach Harry Sinden to replace in this game.
I assume the threat to the referee with Parise threatening to slash the referee was the reason he was put out of the game. But he had a minor, a misconduct, and then was put right out. A 1-0 for the Soviets. They have 13:44 left in the first period. And this is really life and death here tonight, the way they're playing. Lots of time taken on the change of players. Luzhenko is on that key point. Mikulov comes out, number 18. Maltsev is centering. Harlamov is on the left wing. He was injured for the last game. Puck goes into the corner. Bill White played it on the right side. Shot it down. Henderson is covered. Interfered with all the way down there by Zagankov. They jam into the corners. And here goes the penalty. No question about that. With the score, the Soviets won and Canada no score. This is game 8 from Moscow. Zagankov is off for interference. Here's a pass back to Park. Cleared on the right side to Ellis. Right in front of the net for Phil Esposito as Canada at full strength for a change. And the Soviet a man short. Canadians having a chance. Here's a shot. Right on. Tretyak. They bang it in. Phil Esposito knocked in the rebound. And the score is tied. Phil Esposito from Park. And that ties the score.
I'm not sure if we won't see number 3, Luzhenko, help Phil Esposito put that in the net. Tretyak makes a good first save, but he can't clear the puck away. His defenseman comes in to help him and sweeps the puck, I think, right back into the net with the help of Phil Esposito. Now watch Luzhenko. Phil Esposito going back into front of the net, parking himself, and Luzhenko, the first shot's taken now. Now Luzhenko, number 3, helps Phil Esposito put it in the net.
Phil Esposito from Park at 6:45 in the first period to tie the score. Zagankov was off at 6:28, so Canada hit very quickly on that play. Phil Esposito was parked right in front of the net there to take advantage. And it's a 1-all tie. And the Canadian team has cooled out a bit after that rather wild first 3.5 minutes. A quick pass at center ice. Canada on the attack. Rattel tried his shot, goes after it again when it hit a skate. He's bumped by Vasiliev against the board. He's over by the Canadian section. Anderson is given a jolt. The puck rolls back to the defense. Vasiliev shot it out on the right wing, and Phil Esposito drove one wide. Rattel missed it. Now Stapleton took a shot. Another drive is wide there. Yakushev bringing it on the left wing was squeezed out. A 1-1 tie. Liapkin, 25 with Maltsev. Maltsev at center. Over the line. Stopped before he could get through. It's batted out to center. Cornwall went after up third time. Luzhenko shoots it into the Canadian zone. Bill White back to get it. Bill White allows Phil Esposito to pass it back to him. A rink-wide pass to the far wing. Phil Esposito going in on that left side. He shoots. Tretyak had a bounce in front of the net. And he went down on his knees as it fell to the ice. And that was a close call.
Ivan Cornwall picks this rebound off Tretyak's glove right out of the air and almost gets Canada their second goal. Foster, I'm glad to see that Canada has scored relatively early in this game, because in a tight checking game like this, it's very important to get that first goal early, because you're always wondering whether you can score in a tight checking game like this. And Canada now is right into this game. If they keep their composure, they can take this game right away from the Soviets.
By scoring that goal, Phil Esposito has now moved into the tie with Yakushev and Paul Henderson. Each have scored 6 goals in the series.
Again, the coaches are trying to play a little bit of chess amongst each other as far as matching lines. I'm not sure who has the home advantage. I would imagine the Soviets do in this last game. So they'll get the last change, which means Harry Sinton will be allowed to change his line just once, and then he has to stick with it.
Gilbert and Dennis Hull, along with Rattel, the Canadian forward line. Pass back to Park. The shot hit the Canadian player. The shot by Gilbert just trickled off Tretjak's glove. They keep it in. Canada pressing hard. Luzhenko back to the net. It's hit by Dennis Hall. It hit a skate. The Soviets clear out to Nikolov. Over to Harlamov. Harlamov closing in. Passes to Luchenko in front of the net. And he couldn't control the puck to get a shot away. Luchenko fired one that hit a leg. Take it back to the goal. Park failed to get it loose. It comes to the wing. Dennis Hull lobbed it down the ice. It's sliding slowly. It won't go. And Luchenko had to go back and take it. Henderson out there with Clark and Ellis. Park broke up the rush. A pass over to Ellis on the right wing. He lost it. Yakushev coming in and drilled one about 3 feet wide. Goes all the way back into the Soviet zone. A 1-all tie at the 10:52 mark. Slider with Bergman clearing it right onto Yakushev's stick. Yakushev skating to the blue line at center ice. Over on the wing, crossing the line, an offside. And it's called at the Canadian blue line. A 1-all tie, 10:43 remaining. Yakushev, number 15, really one of the big stars of the Soviet club. Lapointe and Savard are moving out on the Canadian defense. Gadron is an added starter on this change, and the Canadian team elect to send out Phil Esposito at center with Ellis and Henderson. So Clark has been relieved for the moment at center ice. Soviet coming up at center, a long pass. Yakushev lost his stick. Play is called, and there's going to be a penalty call against Canada for interference. And it's Peter Mahovlich who is talking to Ellis as Ellis goes over there by the penalty box, and he'll get the interference penalty. Canada will play a man short again. Ellis for interference. And the time is 9:27.
Coming up at our first intermission, Howie Meeker and Bill Good will look at minor hockey development in Moscow. Bill Good will also chat with Gary Alcorn of Hockey Canada. Pat Marsden will talk with some of hockey's top authorities about this unique series.
Leanoff goes in on that left wing, number 9, going back to the Canadian goal. Still has the puck. He hangs on to it, clears the side, and the drive by Petrov went wide. Dryden was down on the play. There's interference by the Soviet player as he didn't have his stick, and here he gets it. No question about that. It was Petrov who kept jamming the Canadian player in on the boards when he didn't have his stick, and Petrov goes off for interference. So now there'll be 5 aside, and this first period has been a story of penalty after penalty.
Without a stick, you can see Petrov put the big bear hug on Phil Esposito as he goes along the board.
From the face-off, the puck goes to center ice. Vasiliev cleared to Mihailov, teaming up with Leanoff, who goes ahead of the play, and the shot failed to go over Dryden, who was down on the play and more or less out of it if he had been able to lob it high.
To round out our first intermission, we'll have Howie Meeker along as well with some more of his interesting observations.
They're 5 aside out there. Canada to the left, Soviet to the right. 9:57 left in the first period, a 1-1 tie. Into the corner, Canada in possession. A lob pass as Phil Esposito pulled away from Leanoff, got over the line trying to kick the puck. Vasiliev recovered, passed ahead, down the far side for Leanoff, closing with Mihailov. He went back to the net, centered it. It comes in front, a shot, and Dryden grabbed that one with Mihailov, cutting right in front of Dryden after Vasiliev had fired the shot.
Dryden looked sharp on this play. He catches the puck. He's not absolutely sure where it is, but he made a good save, and not taking any chances, he smothered the puck.
Another change of players, and they're certainly frequent, and the hitting is hard, and the tempers have cooled out a bit after a wild first 3.5 minutes when Parisi was put out of the game. A cleared pass goes into the corner. Stapleton over to Henderson to Bill White. Bill White at center. Across the line, Vasiliev took him out. Clark goes into the corner, squeezed out on the boards. The pass comes over to Yakushev, who couldn't control it. Clark gets it back to the blue line. Stapleton's roller bounced. It's out to center ice with White. 17 for Canada, playing it to Stapleton. A long shot is knocked down up before it went over the line. Yakushev goes up over the line. He's hard man to stop. Bill White rode him off. It goes back to the goal as the Soviet fans whistle. That's how they show their displeasure. Clark going in back of the net. Played it into the corner. Stapleton starting down that far wing over to Bill White. Bill White in on the right side. He hit Tretjak to the chest, gets that puck again. Clark took a swing at it. The puck was hit in the air and knocked out into the center ice area by the Soviet player, Shadron. 8:29 left in the first period. A 1-1 tie. Yakushev having scored for the Soviet at 3:34, while Canada had 2 men in the penalty box. And then Phil Esposito tied it up from Park at 6:45 with the off just getting an interference penalty. Face-off will be in front of the Soviet defense. Phil Esposito with Shadron. Comes back, a shot went wide. It's off the boards. Park coming in from the side, passed it to the corner. Cornwallis centered it out. Here's a shot. It hit a body. Frank Mahovlich couldn't get hold of it. And the Canadians drive it down the ice, and the Soviets are back in full strength. A quick pass is intercepted. Maltsev going in on the left wing. The puck went high in the air, goes back to the net. Ishikov centered it. Here's a shot. And Dryden seemed to get his hand on that one. Very close. A long pass goes over the line. Canada intercepts. Frank Mahovlich at center, going in on the left wing. Couldn't control the puck. Lecheko took him in. Here's Park shooting, and it's wide of the net. Another pass right in front. A scramble, and they roll it off to the wing as Bergman tapped it to the side, and bodies are going in all directions. Quick pass on the right side. The Soviet on a two-man break. Maltsev was going down on this left side. The pass never reached him. Mishikov is checked by Phil Esposito. Mikulov stole the puck, goes in on the wing, and Mikulov was knocked over. There's going to be another Canadian penalty, interference, and that's the favorite call by the officials. This time Bata is calling the interference penalty to Cornwallis. Cornwallis of Canada gets an interference penalty. 12:51 the time.
It seems that any time Soviet players fall down and look back over the shoulder to the referee, that they can almost entice the referee into giving an interference or a hooking or a holding penalty.
12:51, Cornwallis for interference. That's been the popular call all the way through this penalty-studded first period of play. 7:09 left in the first period, a 1-all tie. Face-off in Canada's zone. Maltsev knocked it back to the blue line to Lecheko. Lecheko going into the corner. Played it back on the boards out to Sagankov. A shot went wide. Harlamov getting it again on that far wing. Passing back to Lecheko. Here's another shot. He scores! A long shot from the blue line. And I don't think anyone touched that puck. Lecheko let it go from the blue line. And I think it went all the way.
That's the shot that will kill you. The defenseman standing right at the top of the slot, dead center in the ice, and he lets a low shot go which Dryden had no chance on. Look at the people screening him. Right in the net, Dryden had no chance on it. It sets up and gets it back to that center man. Luchenko lets a terrific shot go. Now they set it up again. They're looking again for that man in the middle, and here comes the shot right through a maze of players.
Here's the mix-up near the Canadian bench. Harlamov was knocked over in front of the Canadian bench and seems to be injured, or at least he's indicating he was hurt. Well, just how he was, I don't know. He was skating back. When it was just a crowded session there, nothing else happened. Rattel is going to center ice, and Petrov is coming out speaking to Bobrov as they delay the start. Now the Soviets lead 2-1 with 6:42 left in the first period. And goal was scored by Luchenko, a shot about 50 feet from inside the blue line. Mihailov was stopped at center ice. Zagankov cleared it. It goes loose again. Zagankov comes up to get it himself. Is partially stopped by Rattel. With Mihailov carrying back into his own zone, shooting at the center ice. Dennis Hall took a shot wide. Gilbert rushed in but couldn't get it. Maltsev at center ice, coming on the left wing. Pass back to Mihailov. In back to the goal. Goes to the other side. And tap back to Zagankov. Shot around back to the net. Centered it right to the Canadian player. Dennis Hall going down with Bergman. And he elected to fire the shot from a long way out. Nowhere near the net. Puck is back at center. Savard. Back to Bergman. To Dennis Hall. Back to Savard. Savard at center ice. Cleared over the line. Closing in. Rattel tried to pass to Dennis Hall. He missed it. He went into the corner. Zagankov covers. And the play is stopped to the right of the Soviet goal. 5:31 left. Luchenko, number 3, you saw on the screen, as they change players again.
Foster, when the Soviets have that power play advantage, they're looking for 2 men. One between the hash marks, between the circles, the other one up near the blue line, in the same line with the goal. Dead in center.
Soviets leading 2-1. 5:29 left in the period. Here's a shot from way out. Tretjak grabbed that one, was down on his knees. Ellis was close in there with Clark. This is Clark, Henderson, and Ellis out there. LaPointe and Savard playing up for Canada. Shadron got the draw. It goes back to Vasiliev. Henderson broke it up. Clark fighting for it with Shadron, who covered him against the boards. And the play is stopped. Yakushev, number 15, is over on the left wing. Mishkov is on the other. Shadron is ready for the face-off. Canada playing every man up. Rattel taking the face-off. Got the draw back to Savard. Savard faked the shot, turns, gets in front of the net. He shoots. Oh, that was wide. Now Anderson on that far side ahead to Yakushev at center. Down on into the corner. Centered it. Henderson blocked it. To Clark. Here's Ellis on the right side. He's bounced off his stick. Recovered and shot out to center to Yakushev. His pass is partially knocked down. It goes loose again. And Clark to Henderson, who was checked before he could really get going. Checking is very close. The loose puck is near the Soviet defense. Henderson blocked it at center. LaPointe drives a long one that bounced. Tretjak covered it. Lyapkin is blocked on the boards as 3 of them jam against the boards. And the players seem to be cooling out a bit as far as tempers were concerned. But they certainly started off in a storm in the first 3.5 minutes. And the Canadian team lost the services of Parisi on a series of penalties. Bill Esposito ready for the face-off. Cornwallier on the right side Frank Mahovlich on the left. Gusev trying to go out on that far wing, lobbed it to center ice. Bill White shot it in. Phil Esposito was trapped before he could get back onside. 4:11 remaining in the first period. 2-1 for the Soviets. Soviets leading 2-1. Goals by Kashev and Luchenko. The last one, a long shot, but it was screened. Dryden couldn't see it. Here's Mahovlich going in. A hard drive on that left wing. Cornwallis couldn't get the rebound. The Soviets break up a high lob with Klinov on the left. Klinov going right in. Passes instead of shooting and blew a great scoring opportunity. Sometimes you can pass too often. Cornwallis goes in on the left side. His shot is away wide. Klinov took it again to center ice. Over the line, turned around. Esposito clearing too far for Cornwallis. Gusev goes in back of the net. Mahovlich fell when he stopped the Soviet player Gusev, and he just stayed on top of the puck. Dennis Hall, Rattel, and Gilbert going out for Canada. Park and Bergman will be the defense. The Soviets leading 2-1, 3:25 left in the first period. And if anything, it's really been a tough struggle out there all the way. A long shot by Dennis Hall. He goes after the rebound. Zagankov beat him to it. Maltsev from the corner shoots it to center ice and went off Bergman's skate. A pass to Gilbert, who couldn't get past center ice. Another try by Park. They're closing in. Rattel to Park. Right in. He scores! Park from Rattel. And Canada tied it up. Park from Rattel for Canada. This is a beautiful two-way play by Jean Rattel and Brad Park. And you can tell that they're teammates because they knew exactly what they were doing. Rattel slipped the puck through to Park, and Park buried it in the far corner of the net. A great goal for Team Canada by Brad Park. Out of the end zone, we see it set up. Team Canada gets control. A good move. Now Park makes the initial move, gets it off to Rattel. Rattel gives it back, and he beats Tretjak cleanly. Park and Rattel went in there like a well-oiled machine. And Park caught the top corner to beat Tretjak, and it's all tied up again, 2-all. Canada 2, the Soviets 2. Puck is shot to the Soviet zone. Yakashev at his own blue line, playing it over on that right wing to Anderson. Petrov on the left side didn't follow through. A quick pass, Clark. Cleared over on the left side at center ice. Lapointe going in over the line. And Ellis was called on the offside. 2:35 remaining. Park is on the bench there. He has kind of a satisfied look there. Bergman is sitting beside him. From the face-off, the puck goes into the Soviet zone. Lyapkin after it, 25, back of the net, out to Shadron on the right side to Anderson at center. Anderson over the line, pass back to Shadron. His roller went right across the goal mouth. No steam behind it. A lob pass comes all the way back to the Soviet zone. Vasiliev tried to make the pass. Petrov now at center ice. Here's a long shot. Dryden knocked that one down with his glove. Fed it to the corner to Clark. Henderson, Clark, and Ellis out there. The pass is blocked at center ice. Lyapkin going in. Fake the move. There's a shot. Dryden covered the short side when Savard was moved out of position. A pass to Ellis, to Clark, back to Ellis. Here's his shot. And it was dead on there as Vasiliev tried to block him. A high lob down the far side. Lost it at the defense by being a little too fancy. We understand Hull was also given an assist on that last score by Canada. Park for Martel and Hull. A long shot goes into the crowd and a wild scramble to pick up the puck. A 2-all tie with 1:20 left in the first period.
It appears so far in this game, Foster, with 1:20 left in the first period, that when Team Canada is playing the Russians even at 6 men aside, Team Canada is a better hockey team. When they get the penalties or they go a man short, then they get themselves in trouble.
Ready for the face-off in the Canadian zone. And Stapleton played it cautiously, but not out. It's batted in there by Petrov to Bleenhoff. Bleenhoff back to the goal. Still has it. Overskated it. Gets it again. Bill White tried to block him. It's back to the net. Right covered the short side. Mihailoff tried to scoop it. And Stapleton was giving him a couple of jolts. 1:01 left in the first period. A 2-all tie. Face-off is being brought out. Side the Canadian line. There's the look at one of the officials there, Joe Campalla, who's been really under fire. He's from West Germany. He caused one of the big arguments before the game started. The Canadians didn't want either of the West German referees. A quick pass is intercepted at center ice. Bleenhoff, weaving a bit at center, is stopped on the third try. He's trying it again, number 9, over on that right wing. The lob pass comes right back off a skate, but it was offside again. And the Soviets are passing themselves dizzy and missing some great scoring chances.
And there's a good look at the Soviet crowd. And there's the big Canadian flag coming out of that crowd with the Go Canada Go chant. Mission possible. Anything's possible, Foster.
Yeah, this is quite a dramatic struggle here. It's got everything. Tension. Of course, the Parisi incident nearly set the place on fire here. But they've cooled out and they're back to playing hockey. Phil Esposito now at center ice. Ellis is on right wing, so the Canadian team are still juggling their lines. And Peter Mahovlich is over on that left wing. Peter Mahovlich tried to slash that puck out. Maltsev tried it. Park lost it. And it's now recovered by Pete Mahovlich, who centered right on to Petrov's stick. And a hard shot. Dryden covered the short side as the Canadian team are a little lax and having difficulty getting that puck clear. They're not making sure getting it out of their own zone.
Dryden is sharp tonight, Foster. That was an exceptional save he made. The quick glove was up there, and he robbed Petrov of a good scoring chance.
17 seconds remaining in the first period. There's a trip. Bergman was upset. He upset Maltsev. A roller comes right back out to center ice. Gusev, number 2 for the Soviets. Waiting with 4 seconds left. It goes into the corner. It's taken in back to the net, and the siren goes, and that ends the first period with the score Canada 2 and the Soviets 2. This is game 8 from Moscow. And incidentally, of the 8 penalties in that first period, 5 of them were for interference. So on the calls, you really can't go on what the actual offense is, or foul. The puck is now from the face-off into the Soviet zone. Vasiliev cleared in front of his own net. It's grabbed off by Henderson momentarily. Yakushev comes away on the right wing, closes in with his shot wide. It's bounced in front of the net. Chatterjee scores! Shedron got that loose puck. And that put the Soviet one up there when Dryden was unable to clear the puck. And it was shot right back at him.
What we see coming off the back screen, Dryden doesn't see the puck come back. It comes back right to the middle, and Shadron drills it home right between a bewildered Dryden's legs.
21 seconds was that scoring play, a fast one by Shadron for the Soviets, and the Soviets lead 3-2. A totally unexpected score. Anderson coming down now for the Soviet, took a shot, it was wide of the net. Savard goes into the corner. He and LaPointe are out there on the defense. Savard to center ice. Going up, couldn't get over that line. cuts back, is knocked down when bodied on the play by Anderson, one of the kid line. Here's Canada in, a shot, and Tretjak made the save on that far wing as Ellis went in. Another drive from the other side was a way out. Henderson comes right back at center ice. Over the line, a drop pass to Clark, a shot. Tretjak grabbed it, fell to the ice as Ellis cut across in front. And they're just going end to end here as fast as you can imagine.
We can see Tretjak come up with a good save here on a good shot by the Canadian. Foster, I have to comment on that screen. We've talked about it a little bit, but of course it's a netting. It's not glass. And when the puck goes into it straight on, as it did on that initial shot, it comes back off the screen even faster than it goes towards it. And Dryden really had no chance to get his eye on the puck, and it was in the net before he could move.
18:45 left in the second period. 3-2 for the Soviets on a quick goal in 21 seconds by Shadron. The Soviets clear the puck down the ice, and it's called for icing. And it'll be brought back to the left of Tretjak. This is the 8th and final game of this series. The two teams are tied, and anything can happen in this one. A slider goes right down again from the face-off. Going right down, Dryden touches it. Pat Stapleton is back of the net. He was a doubtful starter because of his ankle, but he's taking his part. Talon was dressed in case he wasn't ready. A long shot, and the puck goes off the boards. It's out to center ice. Stapleton recovered, and Rattel shoots it wide of the net. Dennis Hull into the corner, blocks Luchenko. Passed in front of his net over on the right side. Bekulov coming up over the line, couldn't get through. Dennis Hull took it off a skate, but didn't go after it. Dennis Hull stopped Luchenko partially, but he drove it in back of the Canadian goal. Going into the corner, dumping it back to Stapleton, number 3 for Canada. Pass to White, ahead to Rattel. Down this left wing for Gilbert. Over the line, Gilbert right in on goal, he shoots! Oh, and Tretjak made a great save there as Gilbert played it perfectly. Now Mihailov trying to get away. 13. Klinov on his left. No one on the right wing. Over on the right side. Now Petrov comes in with a shot as he was allowed to coast in there without any checking at all. Puck goes right back to Gusev at the blue line. Ahead on the left wing. 3 Soviets offside on the play. And it's called back for a face-off at the Soviet blue line. The Soviets leading 3-2 with 17:09 left in the second period.
In the first few minutes of this period, the play has opened up considerably, and this has probably been the fastest it's been since the game began.
Phil Esposito out there now with Frank Mahovlich and Cornwallier. Bergman and Park, the defense. Bergman lobbed it over to Cornwallier. Cornwallier going in, couldn't get his shot away. Klinov is chased into the corner, cleared out at center ice. A lob pass over on the right wing. Kuskin shot it into the corner. Puck is knocked back there in the corner. Frank Mahovlich passes back to Bergman. Bergman cleared it over to Cornwallier. Cornwallier is covered on the boards. It goes loose. Here's a chance right to Klinov. And Klinov elected to pass, and it went off his skate, came right back to center ice. And the Soviets are overpassing in this game. Another pass at center ice. Petrov goes in on the left wing. Klinov on the right. Came in front of the net, but the pass didn't come that time. Frank Mahovlich down the left wing, showing a burst of speed. Goes in over the line, crossing over on the right wing. And Esposito had a direct shot, and Kustin stopped it. A two-man break for the Soviets. Petrov, backhanded one that went harmlessly to the corner. It's on this wing. Klinov's pass to Petrov with Cornwallier hooking his stick at the time. Park has stopped to one side of the Canadian goal. Coming back on the other side. Shot it ahead to Mahovlich, who fell. Cornwallis lobbed it over the line. Soviet coming back at center, three of them. Shadron was dumped. Yakushev couldn't follow through. Forward to Henderson. Henderson right in the goal! And he fired one wide with Gusev flying into the board. Cornwallis shot wide. And the Canadian team showing some real firing power there with a little erratic shooting. Puck back into the Soviet zone, and it's called for icing.
I think Paul Henderson is showing people some strength that no one really realized he had. When he came in on goal there, he fought off two checks and still managed to get the shot away. A good effort by Paul Henderson.
15:03 left in the second period. The Soviets leading Canada 3-2. Shadron has scored that third goal, 21 seconds of this period. Face-off will be with Clark covering. It goes to Savard. He lost it. The pass goes to the corner again. A cleared pass out to center by Ellis out there with Clark and Henderson. A lob shot goes into the Canadian zone. Lapointe shot it back to center. He's out there with Savard on the defense. Anderson now at center ice. Lobbing the pass, stopped by Ellis. Shadron intercepted. Gets it over to Anderson, who couldn't go across. Liapkin across to Yakushev. Yakushev 15 back to his blue line. And they're taking a second breath here. A long shot goes wide over the line. Dryden cleared it to the wing. He thought it was icing and nearly handed them a shot. Now Vikolov had Henderson covered on the play and had a chance there, but failed to follow through. Henderson ran into his check. Now Clark goes up with Ellis on the right. A long pass ahead of Ellis goes wide of the net. Yakushev. Henderson stopped him. Keeps that puck in there. Flipped it over to Clark. Here's back to a shot. Stopped as Lapointe let it go. Soviet Vasiliev to center ice. Shooting the puck into the corner. Going after it. Lapointe bumped him. Vikolov was held against the boards by Ellis. As Canada carry back, Peter Mahovlich going up over on the line. Failed to get his shot. Now Ellis tears into the corner. Vasiliev lost it, and it goes back to the net. Soviet in possession. A block pass, getting it again, only to have Gilbert break it up as the players change on the go. Vasiliev covering up on the boards, and the play is stopped with 13:05 left in the second.